What's going on, everybody? It's Matt, the Lumberjack Landlord. Excited to be here with you for this video because I think one of the things that I'm seeing that's quite frankly a regular occurrence is a lot of investors, young investors or newer investors, are really struggling finding properties where the money works. And so obviously it's a tough market in a number of different markets. Some it's loosening up a little bit. But I think one of the challenges as being a real estate investor is something that we talked about a few weeks ago, and that's the concept of being flexible. And so once you own a portfolio, or as you're building your portfolio, one of the really important skills to have is flexibility, but also the understanding that you need to be able to understand how to pivot. And so you guys know, if you were part of my journey at all from 2020 and 21 and most of 22, we bought a lot of property. And the reason we bought a lot of property was because we could get 30-year fixed rate debt at 4% or 4 1/8. And so the numbers worked fantastically, even at those current rents. Obviously, part of the strategy, like I teach in my course, oh shit, I'm a landlord, now what? A lot of the stuff that we teach in that is really about how to find those undervalued assets, then how to improve. But one of the really interesting things about this strategy is that I actually was looking at my portfolio for 2023. And I said, with pricing getting completely out of control, with interest rates getting absolutely nuts, how am I going to increase my cash flow? How is that possible? We don't like just arbitrarily raising rents. Now, while we do raise rents, we also don't go for the absolute top of the mountain and try and, really squeeze our tenants. That's just not how we do our business. However, that being said, we're always having to look for the money that we have coming in. How do we reinvest that and get a good return, a good solid return? Now, you do want to be creating dry powder on the sidelines, because I still believe that there's more of a correction coming. Again, still no crash, but I believe that there is going to be more of a correction coming, and people having to get out of the assets that they might be in. They might need to sell a top performer just to create some cash flow to pay off something that might not be performing, or just to do a capital raise. There's a lot of different moving parts in this market right now. Now, that being said, one of the greatest returns that you can get on reinvesting your capital very often can be reinvestment in your existing units. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see landlords now make. They're always looking for that next deal. They're always looking for, I got to buy the next one. I got to buy the next one. I got to buy the next one. The shiny object syndrome. The shiny object syndrome can make you go broke. What you really need to be making sure you're doing is that if there aren't those deals where you can see that return on your capital, or the return on your capital is quite frankly negligible, i.e. it's kind of a poor return, but you're just trying to do a deal, don't do that deal. Don't do that deal, at least until you've looked at what the other options for your money are. This is called the best use of capital. I call it the buck method, best use of capital. I want to make sure that I'm using my money in the places where I get my greatest returns. So one of the things that we do, and this doesn't have to be when you own a huge portfolio, it can be when you own a small portfolio too. We use something called the rent box. Obviously, we have a video on my channel about the rent box, but we actually have one in the course that's basically 40 minutes long, talking about the rent box and how to build out the perfect rent box. The rent box tells you, or gives you the ability to understand what's going on in your market, ranking the different units, A class, B class, C class, location, finishes, etc. I build out this massive spreadsheet. It's yours there in the course. But what's really amazing is that as I started doing some of the math and some of the assets that we'd acquired, I started to get pretty impressed and downright giddy, because I'm looking at some of these things and I'm doing the numbers and I'm saying, oh my word, I can spend $10,000 on this unit and I can increase my rents by $3,000. I can get a 30% return. There were some that were 60% returns. Now, part of that is what I bought it for. Part of that was the fact that some of the other landlords had let them go and not really spent any time, because I've bought a ton of property in the last couple of years where the landlords were like, we can't afford to fix it. We can't afford to fix it. We can't afford to fix it. You're right. You can't, but you could have if you were a good landlord and you knew how to run your business. It is a business. And it's not saying that we want to every single chance we get to raise the rents. What we do have to make sure we're doing is that we're staying in line with the market and understanding that expenses are going to go up. And you might have to do a roof someday. And when you do, you can't go to that one tenant that's living in the building then and go, so bad news, got to do a roof and it's $20,000. And I'm going to do a special assessment for you for that. That's not how it works. It has to be something that you've accrued over time. And that comes from making sure that there's profitability in the asset and that you're staying aligned with what market rents are. So the thing that I would consider or really urge you and really have you focus on really as a result of this video is really understanding your portfolio. If it's 1 unit, if it's 10, if it's 50, if it's 150, you really need to understand your portfolio. You really need to have a rent box in place. These are the ways that we accomplish these tasks. And quite frankly, this year, yeah, I'm going to see 30 to 40% returns on the units that we upgraded. And again, we have kind of 3 tiers of unit. We have a clean, safe, but dated units. We call those C class. We have a clean, safe, and upgraded unit, which means that we've done floors, we've, maybe redone some different trim packages or, maybe done some windows, whatever that unit really needed to kind of bring it into more modern, more current. And then we have the gut rehab models, and those gut rehabs, that's brand new construction at that point, because we've done all brand new electrical and all brand new plumbing and heating and, everything that you kitchens, at that point we've gutted that. That's really an A class for us. Now we're always looking at the market because we don't want to be too heavy into one sector either. This is where you can get diversification within your portfolio. So you can have clean, safe, but dated. You can have clean, safe, and upgraded. And then you can have clean, safe, and completely brand new. Those are the 3 classes of units that we really like to specialize in, because it means that we have people within our columns or within our different unit types. We have them moving up and down. Almost always, I'd say 97% of the time they're moving up. Sometimes they downscale, but most times they're moving up. And again, it gives them the ability to have exactly the place that they can fit into their budget. And from our perspective, it makes sure that we have diversification in our tenant set, in our rent base, but also looking at the fact that there are some areas where we own buildings and where it's like, wow, this neighborhood completely changed. Now it's a beautiful neighborhood. Its place is absolutely amazing, but the only option are the 2 brand new construction buildings that they put out there. Guess what? Those are $2,000 a month for 1 bedrooms. Like, this is crazy. So we're looking at it and say, we can take our 1 bedrooms, and right now they're at $1,200, $1,300, and we can put 8 or 10,000 bucks into the unit, and we're not going to get the $2,000, but we can get to 16 or 1650. And there you have a great return. So I want to encourage you guys, as you're looking, don't get frustrated in your real estate journey. I get it. Everybody wants to buy. Buying is sexy. Buying is fun. Buying is a blast. Buying is by far the most fun part of real estate. But what you really need to be in search of is proper asset allocation. You need to be making sure you're keeping an eye on proper distribution within your portfolio and understanding, most importantly, where you can get that best return on your capital. So as always, we try and create great content here for you on the Lumberjack Landlord, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.